Hello everyone, my name is Dean. Let's talk crypto. This is where you subscribe for daily Bitcoin updates and technical analysis. We track the price of Bitcoin as a proxy for the cryptocurrency markets at large. Today is May 20th, 2026, and our altcoin breakout has been confirmed. I'm going to show you why that is and where it's going. Actually, that is the most important thing, because this breakout is going to produce some upwards momentum in the altcoin market. But after that, we're likely in many assets, not in all, but many assets, to see a complete retracement of gains. So it's extremely important that you understand what this move is. If all that sounds interesting to you, then watch until the very end. Hope everyone's having a great day. Let's get into it. Let's start off with Bitcoin as per usual. On the 4-hourly time frame, I said yesterday in the live stream that if we were indeed to get a breakout in altcoins, an uptrend in altcoins, Bitcoin would have to comply. Yeah, Bitcoin has to be somewhat upwards facing, upwards threatening. Okay, and you can see here, let's go on the hourly time frame actually. You can see here Bitcoin has formed a nice rounded bottom, bullish reversal pattern. You can say it's a cup and handle, you can say it's a W reversal, you can say it's an inverse head and shoulders, really doesn't matter. But I would say that whatever you call it, this is the breakout, this is the retest, and you should be getting continuation of that breakout. So this is a bottoming of sorts, a local bottom in Bitcoin's chart, and the next logical resistance, as we discussed in previous episodes, is the midline, heartline, point of control of this range here, this 10-day range. It's not a long range, but it's clearly the area of resistance, the next area of resistance to the upside. In addition to being the midline or heartline of this 10-day range, you can also do this mathematically. I'm just noticing this. So if you just focus on this right here, this impulse to the downside, what you could do is you could take your Fibonacci retracement tool from the top. Let's try that again. From the top, pull it down to the orthodox low. So the orthodox low basically means the functional low of that move, where you would calculate, levels from. And I think it's quite clearly that. And in this case, I think it's straightforward, because this orthodox low just so happens to also be the nominal low, or the lowest low that impulse made. And if you look, you can see the retracement to the midline is confluent with the phi ratio of this trend. Okay, and the phi ratio, or the golden pocket, the golden mean, is typically resistance when you're below it, support when you're above it. We're currently below the golden pocket, or the phi ratio of this trend. So any upwards momentum should find resistance at the golden pocket of this trend. I do not expect it to break. Okay, so this is confluence right here, two disparate methods of calculating the next level to the upside for Bitcoin, and they're both giving 80K. Okay, so I'm seeing 80K as my next logical resistance for Bitcoin. As I said in yesterday's live stream, that's not much, in the way of upside. You're literally just looking at a paltry 3% move to the upside in Bitcoin, but that's not important. What's important is that Bitcoin is trending up. It's trending up, giving the opportunity for the rest of the cryptocurrency market to also go up. And so that's important. So that's my Bitcoin analysis. Nothing's changed. After that, I do expect rejection and then a flight down, back down, on a retest of the bottom of this range, and then a larger flight down. Okay, so that's what I see in Bitcoin, and I have that price action mapped with this dashed line where I go up, down, up a little bit, and down. Okay, that's Bitcoin. Now, altcoins, that's really the story, because we're not here talking about a 3% move like that's significant. It's only significant insofar as it allows movement in the rest of the cryptocurrency space, because Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Let's look at why I'm saying definitively that the uptrend or the breakout is confirmed. So what does it mean? So a breakout is a breakout of an area of consolidation. Okay, that's the definition of a breakout. You've been consolidating. People use that term, sometimes not really understanding that a breakout means you are doing something before the breakout, and that something typically is going sideways, and then it quote unquote breaks out. It breaks a certain resistance. Okay, sometimes people take breakout, this term, to mean only a break of resistance. Yeah, you can say a breakout is a break of resistance, but more carefully defined, a breakout is a breaking of resistance of a consolidation that was accumulative, right? An accumulative consolidation breaks resistance, and that is your quote unquote breakout. And I've been talking about this mini accumulation right here for a few days now, right here. Okay, I don't know why I put the arrow tool, that was unnecessary. I've been talking about this right here for a few days now, and saying that, okay, very, very, very confidence inspiring that you have the altcoin market come up and then come back down to crucial resistance, now turned into support, and thereupon consolidate and form a base for the ensuing breakout. Okay, and that is what I call the breakout. We're going to look at that a little more closely in just a second, but I just want to reiterate just how important this level is. In basic channel trading, you have to retest the midline. That was done. This is a 100-day channel, mind you. The midline was retested, the breakout from the midline, and then a retest of the top resistance of the channel as support. That was necessary, and no channel breaks without these two conditions being met. That was the final condition to finally break the channel. Okay, and so this, if we're reading it correctly, and if we've schemed it or drawn it out correctly, is the breakout from the 100-day channel. Very significant. Going on the hourly time frame, and by the way, for those of you who may not know, we're looking at the others chart. The others chart is an indicator. It is not, what every last altcoin in the cryptocurrency market looks like, but it's an approximation of what the altcoins in crypto are doing, right? Others chart, all the altcoins minus the top 10 in market cap, averaged down, normalized, and that's the chart we're looking at. So the breakout we were looking for is this, a breakout of this 3-day accumulation. Okay, and you can see once again these patterns of consolidation, when they're accumulative, when they're distributive, they take on a certain form, right? They tend to form rounded features, right? Rounded bottoms for accumulation, rounded tops for distributions. They also tend to look like double bottoms. They tend to look like inverse head and shoulders. And once again, you can see it. And I say this all the time because it has nothing to do with regurgitating theory that, I read about. It's just, chart time, right? It's screen time, chart time, looking at these time and time and time again, play out time and time and time again. And, my conviction comes from that experience of having seen these patterns time and time and time again. And I'm pointing them out. If you're watching this, maybe then you can do the same and have the same conviction when you spy these patterns. This one, I would say, is probably a type of cup and handle. I would say that that's your cup, that's your handle, okay? But this is very convincing. It's very, very strong evidence for a reversal, consolidation, and a reversal. That's the breakout. Now, I will say, if this indeed is any type of accumulation, right? I have a midline retest right here. Sorry. I have a midline retest right there. I'm missing a top line retest, okay? I'm missing the top line retest. And this is common, not just in channels, but also when you see a random cup and handle pattern, right? You have your breakout of resistance, which this is technically a breakout of resistance. You always need to retest that breakout, okay? So a breakout comes in 3 parts, remember. It comes in the initial breakout, the retest, and the actual breakout, okay? So right now I've printed only one part, so I am indeed expecting a retest of crucial resistance retested as support before breaking out in truth, right? So that's what I'm seeing, but this breakout is confirmed with move 1 of 3, and that's the confirmation right there. Now, let me reiterate, not every altcoin chart is going to look like this. This is extremely important. Some of your altcoins, if you're watching them now, have yet to even make that initial move, right? Many have, but many probably haven't. Remember, this is just an indicator. It's a rough estimate as to what the altcoin market is doing. So you can't get around, you have to analyze your individual altcoin charts individually to understand what's going on, where they're going, what targets, or levels are at play, so on and so forth, right? To that end, looking at this on a higher time frame, let's say this breakout does continue as it's likely to, right? And it retests that level. Where's the next logical resistance? The next logical resistance is quite clearly the midline of this 800-day green channel, okay? 800 plus day green channel. I'm not going to zoom out, but just trust me. All the green that you're seeing on your screen is a channel of 800 days of price action. Right now, this 100-day accumulation happened at the bottom of the 800-day larger channel. And the breakout is from the bottom of that channel. The next logical resistance is very, very simply going to be the midline of this 800-day channel. It's going to be serious resistance, okay? You are not going to slice through that. And if you do slice through that, let me say this. If you do, because there is a chance that you do slice through that. And when I say slice through, and let me qualify this. Even if you do slice through it, you're going to find resistance there. You're going to see the resistance there. You're going to feel the resistance there. The price is going to reflect the fact that that's 800 days of resistance. But what's going to happen is you're not going to have a satisfactory rejection here. You're just going to have some sort of cursory reaccumulation and then a continuation. And actually, let me say this. that may be more likely than not. Because when you do, and let's zoom out for a second. Let's zoom out. This is really interesting because I've seen this time and time again in studying charts. And you can see this even in this example, 800 days. What happens as you start to form a channel, right? You start to form a channel, and it's clear that this midline is resistance. The bottom is support. The top is resistance, right? It's clear that the midline is the midline. The top is resistance. The bottom is support. And despite that, there are times where you just go all the way up, as if that midline resistance wasn't there. Well, guess what? Anytime you see that, if it's fast, it won't last. You know it's coming right back, all the way back to the bottom. And that's a telltale sign. Whenever I see resistance not respected properly, I know that's going to swing fail. Okay? And here, you kind of had the same thing. It went right through, came back, but, went up again, swing fail, all the way back to the bottom. Okay? Because on the higher time frame, let's zoom out, I believe very, 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 that it's very likely that this entire others chart is in an ABC correction, or WXY correction, however you want to call it, that this is going to be Let me take that back. And I'll tell you why I'm going to take that back. I was just going to say that basically because I see the larger price action drawing down back to these levels on a higher time frame, I would not be surprised if we ultimately went all the way up to the top of this range before swing failing down and breaking this entire range. But I do not see that actually. I actually think that my original idea was correct. And where you should find resistance, here, let's clean this up, sorry. This is it right here. This is your ultimate resistance, in my estimation, for this others chart before a bigger move down. And I'm gonna say why. Let me make this solid. I don't see us going all the way up to the top of this range. You know why? It's because this is quite clear, and one of you guys noticed it during the live stream yesterday. You have bearishness here. You have very likely a head and shoulders pattern, a bearish reversal pattern. Okay. And what you're putting in now with a really high degree of probability is a simple retest of the midline of this almost 800-day head and shoulders. And let me say this. You're not always retesting the midline of a head and shoulders, but sometimes so head and shoulders patterns technically have to be retested. You have to retest the neckline. So in the textbook, you see something like this. Okay? And that's the neckline. And a breakdown, retest of the neckline, and then breakdown, right? So a 3-wave retest, right? That's usually how it takes place, and it's always said, okay, watch for the retest of the neckline. If you're going short, this is where you should get in or build your short. Don't go short too early because you're going to be retraced upon, so on and so forth. But in actuality, having looked at these things over and over again, what you typically see is something like you're seeing in real time, right? Head and shoulders bearish reversal pattern, and the retest doesn't just retest the midline, or sorry, the neckline, but the retest sometimes happens all the way up at the midline. I think that's what this is right here. Okay? And my theory on that is really, I think, buttressed by this right here, this wick. That wick tells me break of structure. That wick tells me this is move one of X. Okay? Basically, there's a larger move at play, and it probably looks something like this. And this was the beginning of it. This is the top of that move. This all is one contiguous retest. And so I do believe that you're getting your others chart to go up here and no further than that. Now, that I don't know if this is my pink line targets for my clients who are looking. I don't know if that is an accurate description of that, but I'm not holding my breath. So don't freak out for my clients. Don't freak out if by what I just said you think that we're only getting the pink line targets. We may only get the pink line targets for now, but I don't believe so. Again, it doesn't seem to be the case. But on this particular chart, this others chart, if you're trying to track this altcoin breakout and the height of it before an eventual breakdown, I would say it's most likely and prudent that this should be your ultimate top, and you shouldn't expect any higher. And if you do, you're not going to get it. You're unlikely to get it. So I really think that you're going to get something like this. Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to remove this designation because I don't believe that that's going to be the pink line target. I feel like that's going to be the height of the moves that we're looking for before Bitcoin's larger retracement down to 55 to 60K. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing. That's very important. Again, the tricky part is you cannot one-to-one analyze this others chart, which is an indicator for altcoins, and then superimpose it on whatever your favorite altcoin is, because they're not all doing the same thing. If you're just judging altcoins by this chart, you would think altcoins are not bullish on the higher time frame, and some are indeed bearish, but others are beginning their bull markets now, and their charts are not sitting at the top here, right? Even though this is the bottom of an 800-day move, their charts, the bullish altcoins on a high time frame, are all the way down here at support. And so what they're going to do is make higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. They're going to start their bull market here. So I think that's very important to note. But again, this is an indicator. Any indicator that you use, and this is why I'm so big on just pure price action and understanding what price action is doing, or trying to understand what price action is doing, because every indicator, no matter what it is, your indicator 5,000 to your, stochastic RSI momentum indicator to whatever indicator, it doesn't matter how much you pay for it or how free it is, every indicator has a blind spot, but it can still be useful, especially if you know what that blind spot is. The blind spot for this others chart, one of them is that it's not completely representative of every altcoin there is. That's why you have to do individual assessments to really understand each and every market. So, but if you're going by the other chart, that's what I'm seeing. I think this is your ultimate target. Okay. That's important. Important thing to know and note. Now, Bitcoin dominance, last but not least, should reflect that move up with a breakdown, okay? And you're still kind of, you're not still kind of, you're still in this range, stuck in this range right here. 13-day range. Good news is you have some semblance of an impulse down and a retest of the midline. You perhaps get a breakdown sooner than later. Breaking this is what you're looking for, and which will confirm that pretty much every altcoin has broken out. Now only a few have broken out. As you can see from the crypto bubbles charts, you can see, like, we're green, but not super green, right? There are, a few 0 to 10% gainers, but what we're looking for is double-digit gainers across the board. This is 1 to 100. If you look, sorry, this is slow. 1 to 200, still, you can kind of get a sense for what the market's doing. The market is indeed beginning a breakout, but it's not fully fledged, okay? So that is also what you're seeing on the others chart. Let's go back down. You've broken out, you've begun to break out on this chart, but again, this chart is likely to do this, okay? Because it has to retest previous resistance as new support. Got 3 waves in any breakout. All right, so that's my analysis. Hope this was helpful, useful. Like, share, and subscribe if you got value. If you're interested on getting my input, my professional input on your personal portfolio or your institutional portfolio, and basically it's an exhaustive service where I go through what you have and whether it's bullish or bearish on a high time frame. If it's bullish, how to play it, where the next levels are, buying and selling, how to rotate capital, so like how to sell and then buy back, sell and buy back, right? So you can accumulate profits with really high probability resistances, not over trading, but trading at high probability resistance, buying back at high probability support for the bullish ones. For the bearish ones, knowing where to get out so that you don't incur a loss if possible. That is the Crypto Portfolio Mentorship and Consultation Service. It's a full portfolio review in addition to a continuous update on whatever you're trading and what the levels are, and how to play those, risk management, all that stuff. So that's the Crypto Portfolio Mentorship and Consultation. The link to sign up is the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below. I also have a single asset analysis service. I'm not looking at your entire portfolio. I'm not looking at every single last altcoin that you own or are interested in. I'm literally just looking at one asset that you want me to look at. It could be an indicator, it could be an actual, coin, it could be a stock, it doesn't matter. But you make that order, and then within 24 hours you have that analysis. I analyze the high time frame, small time frame, everything I can possibly see in that moment of time. And the benefit of Crypto Portfolio Mentorship and Consultation as opposed to single asset analysis is, in single asset analysis, I can only do the assessment based off of what information I have in the chart at that time. But for Crypto Portfolio Mentorship and Consultation, I do regular updates. So I'm continuously looking at the chart, continuously updating, probably once a week, once every 2 weeks at the least. So that's those services. And instructions for how to order single asset analysis are in the description as well. Last but not least, a lot of people in crypto are interested in leverage trading, futures trading. It's fine, but it can be extremely risky if you do not know what you're doing, if you're not a pro, if you do not know how to control risk. Just please stay away. But if you do, and you want to take advantage of, generous perks, bonuses, things that exchanges throw at users that are new to get them to stay on, then take advantage of the links that I have below for my partner exchanges, Weeks, KCEX, and Femex. Those are the 3 partners that I currently have. Every week they have new bonuses and new offers for new members that sign up through my referral link. So that's it. Take care. Bye.